now that I've gone ahead and created a remote Mongo database, it's time to try to connect to it. And we can do this using a node module called Mongoose. So let's go ahead and install and configure that. So to do that, if we go to npmjs.com, that's where we get all of our node packages from. And if I search for Mongoose, it should have a command line instruction that shows us how to actually install it. And there it is, npm install Mongoose. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my nodemon, and I'm going to do an npm install Mongoose with my typical -- save flag to save it in our package.json dependency file. So when I go ahead and install Mongoose, it's now going to go out to the npm.js registry and grab that package for us. So let me pause while it does that. Okay, so now that we have Mongoose installed, it's time to include it in our app and actually try to configure it. So to do this, we see that there are some instructions down here. The first thing we need to do is require Mongoose in our app, which I'm going to do by just saying var mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And then the second part of that setup is to actually connect to our Mongo database. Now I'm gonna keep this app.js a bit more clean than they have in their example because we've gone through all the effort to clean it up already. So let me go ahead and connect here, except instead of passing the connection string directly, I'm going to create a config file, which will just say get Mongo connection. So we're going to have to create a config. And so what I'm going to do is just create a brand new file. And that file is just going to be called, I'll just call it db connections. But basically what it's going to do is say module.exports, which makes whatever is in here public. And then I can say get Mongo connection function, and it's just going to return our Mongo connection string. So let's go ahead and just save that as dbconnection.js. Save. And then I can actually go to MLab and just copy and paste this connection string. And we'll paste it in here. And actually, this should be like this. So you'll notice that there's this db user and db password. Now, that's not the user and password of our account that we just made. We actually have to go and create a new database user in order to actually use our new database. So I'm going to go ahead and create a user called test user. And the pass, I'll just make test pass, test pass. Not secure, but I'm just using it for the purposes of this example, and I'm going to delete this user afterwards. And so now we have our user, and the relevant connection string would therefore be test user, and I made the password test pass. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and save that file. And last but not least, I'm also going to make sure that we are including our config. Var config is equal to require /config db connection.js. I don't really need the .js part, but I just like putting it in there. And then now we can actually call config get Mongo connection. So let me start up NodeMon and see if everything is working properly. I'm gonna go ahead and type NodeMon app.js. And it is now listening for connections. So let me make sure I can issue API calls still. It's not using our actual database yet, but I just want to make sure that everything is still working properly. So I'll issue some post API calls, and we see that our app is actually still running. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're actually going to set up some models and begin to use our new Mongo database.